Okay, well, fellas, I'm going to actually pipe down on these questions. We'll get back into it, man, because without any further ado, we actually are welcoming in our guests. So, fellas, I'm actually going to start putting a few of you on mute because I don't want to have it too busy in the kitchen, man. I definitely want to keep it cool, calm, and collective as we let our guests in. So, without any further ado, we got the New Orleans Saints linebacker, Scott Shanle. Welcome to the kitchen, Scott. How are you feeling this evening?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely, man. We got a couple of hot and warm questions to throw at you and your perspective on the NFL in general. I'll actually throw my situation at you first and let the chef go behind me. I got Brian and Caleb in the kitchen right now. And my first question I was going to throw at you is, how frustrated are you with this lockout and moving forward? We're hearing the plus and, the pros and cons of the situation. Moving forward, how is your perspective on football right now?
Well, this is about as positive as I've been about the whole thing, and I'm sure a lot of fans around the country as well, because, this is the most optimistic both sides have been. It's been tough this whole offseason, especially, I'm an unrestricted free agent, so, going back in March, I would either be moving to a new city, getting to know new teammates and coaches, or, I would know that I'm still going to be a New Orleans Saints. So it's been a tough offseason, but I'm just glad to hear that it sounds like we're not going to miss any games.
Hey, Scott, how you doing? This is Brian Hughes from the West Coast. I'm out here in California. And actually, that was what my question was going to be. As a veteran player in this league, you are into your 30s. You do understand not only just the physical side of the game, but the emotional and mental side of the game and the preparation that's needed. Being that you are a free agent, how difficult is the transition going to be this year as opposed to if free agency would have happened like it normally would have, a few months ago? How much extra stress is this going to cause on you, your family, the learning curve of learning a whole new playbook if New Orleans doesn't re-sign you?
Well, that's absolutely right. I think it's going to be more difficult for some guys more than others, I guess. I think it's an advantage to be a veteran player that's played 8 years in the NFL because, I think a lot of teams might look at guys like that and say, hey, they've been around a while. They know what it's going to take mentally. I've been to a couple different teams, and I've been able to pick up a playbook pretty quick, and I've played in every defense. So I think it's going to be an advantage for me. I think, going back to 2006, I got traded a week before the season and ended up starting every game for the Saints. So I think little things like that I'm hoping will help me in free agency this year.
Hey, Mr. Shanle, this is Caleb from Sports City Chef. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, thanks.
That's great. We're honored to have you on. I just wanted to ask from a fan's perspective, a lot of people kind of see different players. Of course, Ocho Cinco's playing soccer, riding bulls, and whatever else. We're kind of wondering, what does a free agent linebacker like yourself typically do during a lockout like this, keeping yourself in shape? Are you hanging out in Hawaii? What kind of, would you spend extra time with your family? What kind of stuff are you doing right now while you're waiting on this thing to go through?
Well, I'm married. I have 3 young kids, 6, 3, and we just had a daughter this off season. So I've been busy playing the role of dad this off season. It's been fun, getting to spend more time with my kids and watch them grow in these crucial years. So it's been a huge advantage to be home and play with those guys all off season. I think some days my wife looks at me like, when is work going to start? I got to get you out of the house. But, that's all right. Because I think, now that things are going to start up and get back to normal, it makes everybody feel a little bit better. But, we've traveled a little bit, but sometimes when you have 3 little ones, it's almost easier just to chill out at home and work out at home and get ready for things to come.
Absolutely.
Well, Scott, I have a question from the chat room, and the question is, how do you feel about your teammate Drew Brees being at the head of the negotiations?
You know what? Drew Brees is the best football leader that I've ever been around. He has the ability to get grown men from ages 20 to 35, whatever it may be, that when he speaks, everybody listens and respects what Drew Brees says, because Drew has been a guy that he doesn't just say things to say. He doesn't just say things to say things. When Drew Brees speaks, he means it. It comes from the heart. And, he works as hard as anybody that I've ever seen on the football field. So he practices what he preaches. And I I wouldn't want anybody else in that position. I think Drew is a perfect guy, and he's always going to look out for the best interests of the entire league.
Well, over a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady too?
Well, it's easier for me to say because I've been with Drew for 5 years. Those other guys, I'm sure, their teammates would say the same thing about them. But the fact that I know what Drew Brees is like, the real Drew Brees, it's easy for me to be confident in him going up to New York and sitting in those meetings.
Hey, Scott, this is Brian from California again. Free agent linebacker, outside linebacker, you're going to be 32 at the start of the season, just quickly after the season starts. I'm a general manager. I'm looking at some of the possible outside linebackers for my team. And there's guys like Manny Lawson, James Anderson, Rocky McIntosh, Quincy Black, Stephen Nichols. All these guys are 28 years or younger, and these guys all have starting experience. Tell me why that I should be seeking a guy like Scott Shanle on my team. Why do I want you over some of these other guys? What can you bring to a team that some of these other guys can't?
Well, I think first and foremost, sometimes people get too caught up in when guys were born and how old they are. I mean, obviously, when you're getting mid-30s and stuff like that, you got to start looking at wear and tear on guys' bodies. But, I'm a guy who I started the last 5 seasons. Overall, I've been the leading tackler for the Saints. I have a ring on my finger, and that's something that carries a lot of weight. When you go into another locker room and the guy's been there and he's won a world championship, that experience and that leadership that guy can provide is a huge advantage. And I've seen it on teams I've been on. It commands respect because he's been there. He's traveled that road. But other than that, I'm in my 30s, but I've never had a major surgery, never had a broken bone. My body feels great. I didn't start the first couple of years I was in the league, so I don't have as much wear and tear as a guy who would maybe start all 8 years. And, as far as versatility goes, like I said before, I've played in every defense you can play, every position, and I've shown the ability to pick up playbooks, in a short amount of time. So I feel like there's a lot I could provide to a team if they were willing to give me the opportunity.
Brian, this is Caleb again from the Southwest. You certainly mentioned the bling that you tote around. You've got 6 tackles in the Super Bowl. Not a lot of people can say that. Been around the league for quite a while, and like you said, have attained minimal damage in the process. Now, I certainly don't want you to per se, say what team you would actually want to play, because I know that you're a free agent and you have to play it the way that you must. But I'm kind of wondering, just from your perspective, a guy who's played in so many different kind of schemes, what's a defense that you admire watching that you think you would be an ideal fit for?
Well, I think, obviously, first and foremost, since I played in a 4-3 scheme these last 5 years, I would feel most comfortable transitioning to another team in a 4-3 scheme. I've played both outside positions, so whether it's weak side or strong side is not a big deal to me. But, when I look around the league and I look at some of the teams, the way they've been built and what their future looks like, I looked at the Detroit Lions. Obviously, they have a couple former Nebraska Cornhuskers up there that would always be fun to play with. But I think they've done a great job of building young talent. And, I think scheme-wise, they run pretty much the same scheme as we do here in New Orleans because Jim Schwartz worked under Greg Williams for a period of time in Tennessee. I look at the St. Louis Rams. I have a lot of respect for what their head coach Spagnuolo's done there, and I think they're a team on the rise in the NFC West. And obviously, when you look at this stage of my career, St. Louis is a little bit closer to home. It's closer to Nebraska, so I wouldn't mind getting closer to home towards friends and family where they can watch me play a little bit more. But that being said, I would have no problem going anywhere in the league. As long as you're wanted, it's easy to go into a place and give it your all. But I think New Orleans has become home for me and my family the last 5 years, and we've had so many great memories, and I think this team is built to win more championships.
Well, Scott, me being the one Lion fan right here, I love the little statement that you threw out there, so thanks a lot for throwing that out there to the kitchen, man. But outside of that, man, I got to serve you a little Brussels sprouts and see if you like what I'm about to dish out right here. What offensive player or offensive threat did you see was a problem bringing down or catching up to on the defensive side of the ball?
Wow, I think, it's always, you want to stay in your division because you usually see guys, you see them more than once a year. So the running back from Carolina, D'Angelo Williams, I think is a heck of a back who probably doesn't get as much respect as he probably should. Probably because Carolina was a little bit down last year, but I think he's a heck of a running back who, whoever gets him in free